Hello, Embers, or if you're new here, welcome to the Campfire Crew. My name is Stone, my pronouns are they, them, and this is Pan Those Eyeshadows, as you can see from the intro. So, if you've never watched this before, I'll briefly go over it. I'm having two palettes, this one, 5 uses each for each shade, and this one I'm trying to hit pan on at least half the shades this year, and next year I'll be trying to finish the last half of the shades, panning them. So let's start with this one because it's the least exciting. It has changed again this year. If you saw it last month, you will know that I got rid of a shade and I got rid of 2 more shades. Something in me, I think, once I got rid of that purple shade I hated, I realized I didn't like the other 2 shades either. And I just had already given myself permission to get rid of shades I don't like. And so I just did it. I got rid of it and I rearranged this. Now it is a 9 pan and I absolutely love every color in here. There is no risk of me getting rid of any more of these. I love each and every one of these shades. Some of them I use more than others, but I love them all and they all have a use in my collection and they're all good quality now. So now that we have this perfect palette, let's start with the update. So this blue shimmer, I only had 1 use on. I needed 4 more. And I did get my 4 uses this month, so I'm so excited to say that is at 5 uses. The next shade is Patina, which is this dark green shimmer. I had 4 uses on this. I needed 1 more use, and I actually got that use the day that I filmed last month's Pan That palette, but I wasn't counting it because I had filmed it in October. No, I had filmed it in November. I'm also filming this a little early in November. But yeah, I didn't count it for that month, but it is counted for this month, and this shade is now done. This red shimmer had 4 uses. I only needed 1 more use on it, and I did get that. I actually ended up using this red shimmer twice this month, which is very exciting. So this has its 5 uses now. Then we go on to the second row, and Navel, this dark blue, had already had 5 uses on it by last month. This dark green Patina also had 5 uses already on it by last month, and I didn't use it. I also didn't use Navel again. Lucretia, this red, needed 4 more uses on it, and I now have my 4th use as of today. It's in my outer corner. I've used it in some looks with pink. I think I did one yesterday or the day before, also blending out a pink, and it's really pretty actually. And I forgot how much I love the tone of this red, which is different than the tones in my other palette. Karma the black I had already used 5 times. Majesty the gold I had also used 5 times already. And same thing with Nemesis, this dark wine red. I had also used it 5 times, which means my goals for the year are done and we're not even in December, which I'm so excited about. I am obsessed with this palette. I already have goals for next year, but we'll talk about that in January. And then let's get into the exciting update. So my goal last month for this palette, the Be Perfect Carnival 3 palette, was just to get 1 more pan in it. So I had 20 pans, and next year I could start fresh with half the palette panned, and I could work on the other half of this palette. And my goal was also to just start using some of these lesser used shades in this and to just have a little bit of fun with shades that I hadn't panned yet to get them a little closer to pan. This is what this palette looked like last month. And this is what this palette is looking like this month. Da 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 da. So we're just going to talk about the shades that I've used, and I'm actually going to swatch in real time this time. I'm going to put this down and put pictures up of the shades. The first shade in this palette is Forest, which I used 4 times this month. And I hit pan on it. I'm so excited. And this is what Forest looks like, swatched out. We had a pretty good dip last month in October because I was using it with all those purples that I hit pan on last month. And now we have pan on it, and that's what it looks like. It's not the greatest swatch, but it goes on the eyes beautifully. Love this palette. You can't see pan anymore. You can't. I covered up the pan. I will uncover the pan to take pictures because I earned that pan, goddammit. The next shade down, I also used, oh, it is bright all of a sudden. The next shade down I also used is called Bamboo. I used it one time. I'm going to assume with Forest, probably. And this is what Bamboo looks like. It's this really pretty kind of murky green, and I've really been enjoying it. It doesn't have a huge dip, but it's starting to get a dip. Oh, I forgot to say, Forest I've used in total, like this palette, I know every use I've ever had on it, and that is 21 uses total to hit pan on Forest. Bamboo I used one more time, like I said, for a total of 13 uses. The next shade I used is at the bottom of this row, and it's called The Deep, and I used it 2 more times for a total of 11 uses. It's this really beautiful dark blue color. This is what it looks like swatched out. It's so dark and beautiful and pigmented, and I'm very excited because I think I'm going to use it a lot in January. I love a nice blue moment in January, and that's what that looks like. The next shade I used is Tahiti Green, which I was probably, again, using with Forest and Bamboo. This is what it looks like swatched out. It's a really pretty green shimmer, but it does take a lot of building up to actually be this pigmented. I think when I first got this palette, I really didn't like the quality of the shimmer, but I seem to have figured out how to work with it because it works a lot better now than it used to. I think it's definitely a shade you need to use your fingers for, not a brush. And I used Tahiti Green 2 times for a total of 21 times, and it already had pan on it. After Tahiti Green, I ended up using the next shade under it, Tropics, which is another green. I used that 4 times for a total of 18 uses. This is what it looks like. Again, it's this really bright green that I used at the beginning of the month to blend out the dark green Forest, and this is the color palette so far. The next shade I used is Lagoon. I used Lagoon 2 times for a total of 14 uses, and this is what Lagoon looks like. It's a brighter blue that I probably used to blend this dark blue Lagoon out, and this is what it looks like. When I first got this palette, I feel like I was really kind of afraid of this color because it's quite bright, but the longer I do makeup, the more I realize what I can use it for, and the less scared I am to try different looks for sure. The next shade I used is Coral. Coral is from the 4th row, and it's this really bright, vibrant, I don't know if you can really see the color on camera, but it's this really bright, vibrant pink coral kind of color. It's really beautiful. The lighting's kind of going a little wacky right now, so I don't know if you're going to be able to, oh yeah, that doesn't really, there is kind of like that. Oh, this is kind of the color on my finger. You can see it better there. The weather's, it's starting to snow. It was sunny a minute ago. The weather's going wild, but I used that shade 1 time for a total of 6 uses. After that, I used Bear. I'm pretty sure, oh yes, I used Bear today and I believe yesterday. Bear is just this really light pink color. It's quite bright and beautiful, but I don't know if it'll show up too well on camera. It's right there. But it's a really pretty blending out color. I use it a lot. I, again, have it as my blending out shade, my crease shade today. I used it 2 times this month, recently. And it also has 14 uses. The next shade I used is Blaze. Blaze already has pan on it, and I have now used it 25 times. And Blaze, well, it doesn't have one of the biggest dips. It does have a pretty decent dip. It's this bright fire chuck kind of very vibrant red right here. It's really beautiful. I'm running out of space on my hand. And this is what Blaze looks like. Again, the lighting isn't, oh, there we go. That's a better representation of all the colors. That's Blaze. It's this really bright fire truck red color, and it is so beautiful. I love this red to death. It's a very different tone than the one I have in my Divina palette, it's a lot brighter and a lot more kind of typical Taylor Swift lip red. Oh, the sun is back out. Okay. The next shade I used is JJ, and I use this in a look with the red shimmer in my Divina palette, which is this one, and I mixed them together to make this kind of purpley wine red. I did that, I believe that was my look yesterday. This is what it looks like. I said I was going to use my other hand, but apparently not. This is what it looks like. It's really beautiful, and I'm glad I got to use it another time. This has a total again of 14 uses. The shade after that is a shade that I have on today, which is called Pearl. I have it. I'll put up a picture of my look today because you won't be able to see anything with this crazy lighting. But I used Pearl today. It's this really beautiful light shimmer. You can barely see it because it's so reflective, and also it's so bright right now, but it's this just really reflective light pink. Oh my god, ow, my eyes. I am blinded, sun, please. So this is the color. It's very similar to my shirt, but shiny actually. And I don't know if you can see this. Oh, there it kind of is. But it's really beautiful. It has this kind of purple tone, purple shimmers to it. I don't know if that's just because other colors have fallen into it or it's naturally like that. I'm not sure. I've used it a bunch of times, but I still don't know. Pearl, I think, is going to be something I hit pan on early next year. I really hope so. I use it a lot. I've used it 13 times this year. No, I've used it 13 times in total. The next shade I used is Bloom, which is the shade right under that. And Bloom, I've used in total 6 times, only 2 times this year. This is what it looks like. It's this really bright pink. I keep swatching on the same arm that is so full, but whatever. It's this really bright orchid kind of pink with a little bit of a purple undertone to it. It's not coming off on camera, but it's so pretty. The next shade I used is Blue Moon. I have used a lot of shades, but Blue Moon is this purpley blue shimmer color, and it's mostly purple, but it does flip to a blue. It's really pretty. That's an actually terrible swatch. That's a little better. Hello. You can kind of see it here. You can't really see it on my arm swatch. It just kind of looks gray, but it's this really pretty purpley blue color. It looks a lot nicer in person. It's not swatching really well right now, but it's really beautiful. And Blue Moon finally has a total of 5 uses. So my sub goal is to get everything to 5 uses just so I can feel like I've used it at least, well, 5 times, because I usually hit pan around 9 to 25 uses in this palette. And so 5 uses is my, like, I'm starting to get use on it. I might be able to hit pan kind of soon. It's my, like, minimum amount of uses that I want to have everything at as soon as possible. The second last shade I also used today, and that is Rose Pink. So Rose Pink is kind of like a darker version of Pearl with less of a blue flip and more of a kind of gold flip. It's this like kind of purpley pink to gold shift. I don't think you're going to be able to see it super well. Maybe in the swatch it's right, wow, you really can't see that well. It's right here. It's actually a very beautiful shade on the eyes if the lighting was a little bit less bad right now. And I have now used that for a total of 12 uses. It does have a little bit of a dip, but not as much as you would think. And finally, the last shade is Black Beach, which is a black. I've decided that I do in fact want to finish this black. It's just a black. It's not as nice as the black in my Divina palette, but here it is. I think it's a nice black for blending things out, whereas the other black is more of a liner kind of black. It's really dark, so I do editorial looks with it, liners, that kind of thing. I think it's better for, where I think this is better for darkening shades up because it's just not quite as black. Yeah, you can kind of see here that it's just not as black, but this is my color story that I used this month. Anyway, with that, we are finished the Carnival 3, and as you can tell, I did hit 1 pan, so now we only have 20 pans left. My goal for next month, for December, now that I have finished half of this palette and hit my goal on my Divina, is to start working on this palette. I want everything by next month to have at least 5 uses, and any color that doesn't have a super good dip, I would like to use a couple of times and get a little closer to pan on a lot of these so I can start next year off really good. I want to start January off, the intro of this palette off with pans. I want to have pans all the time. So basically what I'm going to have to do next year to finish this palette is 6 months out of the year I am going to need, 7 months out of the year I'm going to need to hit 2 pans, and then the other 5 months I'm going to need to hit 1 pan. So I'm going to need to hit at least 1 pan every month. Most of the months I'm going to need to hit 2 pans. So I really want to give myself a flying head start with this palette. So this month in December, I'm just going to try and use a heck out of all of the pans that don't have dips and just try and get everything to have a noticeable dip so I can just really get going next year. I'm so excited. We have 1 month left and I've already hit all of my goals, and I'm just going to get ready for next year, and I'm so excited. I will see you next month. Actually, I'll probably see you in 2 weeks because I'm doing 2 videos a month now. Anyway, subscribe, like the video, follow me on Instagram at Stone Says Hello. I'll see you later. Bye.